Okay, boys and girls, welcome back from spring break. We're going to start a new lesson today, and this one's about probability, right? Do you see that word right there? We've already talked about it a little bit right there. Probability means the likeliness of an event or an outcome taking place. So this problem says, suppose you have a bag of plastic discs, they're colored, and you choose one without looking. The probability the disc you choose is yellow, the probability that it's yellow is 5 out of 25. Can you see that right there? Let me do that again. Five out of 25. Write this probability as a decimal. So we know that to create a decimal out of a fraction, we simply divide 5 by 25. Or we do it this way, 25 into, if we want to do long division, 5, and we add some zeros at the decimal point, or we just use a calculator, right? But 5 out of 25 yields the decimal 0.2, and you can do that on a calculator. So the probability is 0.2. Remember, probability is always expressed as a decimal between 0 and 1, or if we convert it into a percent, that means that we take the decimal 0.2 and we move the decimal 2 places to the right, and we fill in that empty space to the 0, so 0.2 is also 20%. But as a decimal, this would be our answer right here. Moving on to the next question. It says, suppose you have a bag of colored plastic discs and you choose one without looking. Same problem, right? But here's the next question. What best describes the probability? So at 0.2, remember that if it were probability were 0.5, that would be 50%. That would be this answer, as likely as not. But it's not 50%. It's not that high. 0.2 is less than 0.5, so it is unlikely. We would say it is unlikely. Okay, does that make sense? Anything less than 0.5 is going to be unlikely. Anything greater than 0.5 is going to be likely. You should write that down in your notes. Okay, let's do it together actually. So, unlikely outcome is less than 0.5, and a likely outcome is greater than 0.5, and a certain outcome, might as well write all of these down, equals 1. When the probability is for sure, it's going to happen, then it's 1. And when something is impossible, we say it cannot happen, it could never happen, it's impossible, then that probability is 0. There, put that in your notes, boys and girls. Okay, problem 3 says Sandra spins the point of a spinner, and the spinner has 4 equal sections, that's very important, labeled 1 to 4. Complete parts A and B. Okay, A says the probability that the pointer will land on a number less than 5. Well, if this is our spinner, say we have a wheel, and it's split into 4 equal sections. That doesn't look equal. Let me try that again. That's better. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's the probability that it lands on a number less than 5? Think about that for a second. All of those numbers are less than 5, right, boys and girls? 1, 2, 3, and 4, they're all less than 5, so the probability of a number less than 5, equals 1. It's certain. This is a certain outcome, because no matter where you spin it, no matter where it lands, it will land on a number less than 5. Good job. And the second part of this question, see, we filled in our answer. The probability is 1. And the second part says it is blank that the pointer will land on a number less than 5, and that would be certain. We already wrote that down. Does that make sense? Good job. Onward and upward. It says Michael is planting a garden, and the probability that a seed will produce a plant is 9 out of 10. That's pretty high. complete parts A and B. So the probability that a seed will produce a plant is 9 out of 10. So 9 out of 10 becomes our decimal, 0.9, and as our percentage becomes 90%. It's just a question of what answer they want. They want the percentage. You can see right here they want the percentage. So we're going to fill in to, part A, 90% right here, this answer right here. Good job. And part B says it is it is blank that a seed will produce a plant. So remember what our note said, anything greater than 50 but less than 100 or less than 1 is likely, right? So that's our answer right there. It is likely. Good job, boys and girls. And here we go with the next question. It says a bag contains 80 colored tokens. Of all the tokens in the bag, 25 are black and 5 out of 16 are red. Okay, then it says, question A, find in percent form the probability of choosing a black token and the probability of choosing a red token from this bag. Okay, so here we go. We have to compare the probability of choosing black is equal to 25. There are 25 tokens out of 80 total, right? So we convert that into a decimal. You just do it on the calculator and you get 0.3125, which is, move the decimal point over to the right 2 places, 31.25%. That's the answer that they want. Hang on, I'm going to write that a little bit better. 31.25%. Okay, and we'll fill that answer in, and then we have to calculate the probability of choosing a red token, which is going to be 5 out of 16, and when you calculate that decimal, you get the exact same answer. So it's 0.3125 or 31.25%. So we're going to fill in our answers, 31.25 for black and for red. Go ahead and do that. And now, see, we have our answers filled in, 31.25, we checked it, those are right. And the next question is, it is blank that a token will be chosen, that a black token will be chosen, and it is blank that a red token will be chosen. And remember our notes, anything less than 50, what are we going to put in? We're going to put unlikely. It is unlikely that either of them are chosen because both of them have a percentage or probability percentage of less than 50. Good job, boys and girls. Alrighty, on to the next question. This one says, is the spinner shown a fair spinner? Explain why or why not. Well, you can see very clearly that this section right here, section 1, is bigger than section 2 and 3 and 4, and also section 5 is bigger than the other ones. So is this a fair spinner? It can't be if some of the spaces are bigger or smaller than the others. Okay, so choose the answer that you think is true. What do you think? Read them all and then pick the one you think is the best one. Well, B and C say that the spinner is a fair spinner, and this one says the spinner is a fair spinner. We just said it's not a fair spinner, so it has to be A, right? Because the sections are not the same size, right? All right, good job, boys and girls. Okay. On to the next question. I already filled in the answers, and so you can read the question with me and look at the answers at the same time. Let's see if we can make sense of this question. It says, Angela is using a number cube. That means a dice for a game with faces labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Is the number cube fair? Well, are all the sides or faces of a dice the same size? That's all you have to answer. Are they? Or is it lopsided? Usually they're all the same size. So we write, yes, it's fair because it is equally likely that the number cube will land with any of its numbers facing up. So every number has a fair chance, an equal chance of showing face up when you roll it. Good job, boys and girls. Okay, coming into the last few questions here, let's look at this question. It says, think about the process. Suppose you have a bag of 25 marbles and 3 of the marbles are white. If you choose one without looking, what's the probability you choose a white marble? Write this probability as a percent. Okay, that's what it says right there. Use a word or phrase to describe the probability. This is easy. We know how to do this. We're going to take 3 white marbles out of 25 total. We're going to calculate the percentage. Well, first the decimal. And if you do it on a calculator, it's 0.12. And we know that that's going to be 12%. So we know that it's 12% probability. So it's low, and so that means it is unlikely because it is less than 50, right? Good job. Okay, question 8 says Greg has a bag that contains 25 colored tiles. Of all the tiles in this bag, 10 are blue. Okay? Then there's another bag that contains 250 colored tiles. And of all the tiles in that bag, 75 are blue. From which bag, that's the question we're trying to answer, from which bag is Greg less likely to pick a blue tile? Explain. Well, that's easy. We know how to do that. We're going to say the probability of choosing blue in bag 1, and we're just writing, that's shorthand. The probability of choosing blue in bag 1 is going to be equal to 10 out of 25. When we do that on the calculator, we get 0.4. When we convert that to a percentage, we get 40%. Okay? Now, let's calculate the probability of choosing a blue tile from bag 2. And that's going to be 75 out of 250. 75 out of 250. Calculate that percentage, and that is 0.3, which is 30%. So, which one is he less likely to choose a blue tile from? He's less likely to choose a blue tile from bag 2 because it's a lower percentage, right? So that's what we fill in for our answers. Greg is less likely to pick a blue tile from the second bag. The probability of picking a blue tile from the first bag is 0.4. The probability of picking a blue tile from the second bag is 0.3. There you go, boys and girls. Hope that's making sense. I know you got this. And our last question, I already filled in the answers, so you can look at those as I read through the question. We can figure it out together. It says, Hector made some observations about the numbered cards before his friend turned them face down and rearranged them in a different order without Hector looking. So they were face up, like you see them here. They were face up, but then his friend shuffled them, turned them upside down, right? Okay. So which of Hector's statements is true if Hector randomly selects one face down card? We'll just read them and we can see what's going on. It is selection A. It is more likely that Hector will select a card labeled 0 than a card labeled 3. Well, let's see. There are 2 zeros and there are 2 3s. So they're equally likely. One's not more likely than the other, so it's not A. B says it is impossible for Hector to select a card labeled 2. Remember we talked about what impossible means, boys and girls? And impossible means that there cannot be a 2 in that stack of cards, and there isn't. So he could not possibly draw a 2. There is none. So choose that one. And then selection C. It is certain that Hector will select a card with a label that is greater than 0. Well, if it's certain, then all the cards have to be greater than 0, but they're not all greater than 0, right? Because some of them are 0. So not all of them are greater than 0, so it can't be C. D, the probability that Hector will select a card numbered 1 is 1 out of 8. Well, let's see. We have, how many 1s are in there? We have 1 out of how many cards total? 8. So it is 1 out of 8 that he will select that one. So D is correct. And finally, E says the probability Hector will select an odd numbered card is greater than 50%. Well, let's look at all the odd numbers. There's the 1, there's the 3, there's the 3, and there's a 5. Those are all the odd numbers. That's 4 out of 8, which is exactly 50%. It's not greater than 50%, so E is out. There you go, boys and girls. That's our lesson. I hope it made sense. Good luck with your assignment. Let me know if you have questions.